So our next guest is a bookstore owner. We have bookstore owners on the show from time to time, and his bookstore is in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and it has an interesting title for his bookstore. It's the Young Dreamers Bookstore. So um, he's
Hello.
Dr. Hello, Dr. Griffin-El. I'm not going to try to pronounce your first name. I'll let you present it, and because I don't want to mess it up. But
Yes, ma'am.
welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. Of course, I've followed you all before, received the email, so it's an honor and pleasure to be in dialogue with you all. My first name is Nosakari. It means God's way is the only way, or He who God has ordained in the Edo language, which is in Nigeria. So yes, that's my first name, and then Griffinell.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm glad that our work is getting around and more and more people are hearing about it. So we're and I don't know if we've had a store from Pittsburgh on before. We've had many bookstore owners, but I don't remember. Rhonda might remember if we've had someone from Pittsburgh, but I don't think I
I
know
don't
we've
think
had
I
people
don't
from
think
Philly.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've had Philly, but not Pittsburgh.
Well, I'm
So,
from Philly, so
oh, okay.
So there
so
you go.
you get the best of both worlds. You get me physically in Pittsburgh, but from Philadelphia.
Okay. So how old is your bookstore?
So we're walking into our fifth year. My wife and I, we co-founded the bookstore. Uh, our, like my kids say, our origin story goes all the way back to our son who had a speech delay. And long story short, we spoke to a speech pathologist, and I was like, "Hey, what can I do at home?" And he said a simple word: read. And as a PhD graduate from the University of Pittsburgh, I also participated in Philadelphia Freedom Schools. I just got as many books as I could get, both from my mom, who's a former librarian, and I went to the local library and just read both my oldest son, who was 3 at the time, and my youngest son, who was around 1.5. I read them 10 books a day, 50 books a week. By the time this is from summer to winter, I read them over 800 books, my wife and I. And one of the things that my sister-in-laws would always do, they would say, "Hey, why don't you write book reviews? Why don't you just write a review on the good books that you read to the boys?" And I was like, I'm not doing that because I don't think anyone's going to read that. So, no, I'm good. And so they kept on encouraging. My wife was like, "You should do it." So one day during Thanksgiving, I sat in a chair and I just put out a little Facebook post about a really amazing book that's out of print now about a little black boy who's a superhero, goes into the future. There's no plants, and he basically brings seeds from the past into the future and grows this beautiful, luscious forest, if you may. And I was like, this is a great book. And people started to like it, started to share it. All of a sudden, I get 80 likes, which I tended only to get 80 likes when I post something about my kids and my wife. So I was like, oh my gosh, so it was an amazing experience, and that led me to write more reviews, start a book club, host story times at the library, and we were really picking up momentum. Fast forward, pandemic happens, we go back into the house. Everybody does for a couple of years, and towards the end of the pandemic, I did a professional development for PwC. I got a honorarium, and with that honorarium, my wife and I we use that as seed money to start our bookstore. Now, I say seed money because I was a stay-at-home dad, so my wife would say, "All right, we're going to buy $100 worth of books, so figure out how we can make this stretch." And this was like December. By the spring, we had a closet full of books, and now we had to go and sell them. So our first pop-up, our first pilot was at the August Wilson Block Party in Pittsburgh. And we went there with 4 boxes of books, and left with just a fourth of one box. So we said, wait, we got something here. So we just kept on investing, flipping the money, and eventually we became a staple in the community. We won a couple of awards. One award was from the Pittsburgh Pirates going to bat for small business. So we were recognized as one of the top small businesses in the Pittsburgh area. And I could go on and on about other awards that we have won, but our main focus wasn't to sell books, to be honest with you. Our mission is to meet kids at their dreams and their reading needs. Meaning, if a kid has, uh, if we start with what a kid doesn't like or what a kid cannot do, that's the deficit model. Kids won't pick up a book. I don't care how amazing it is. But if we start with saying, what do you want to be when you grow up? What's your dream? And when kids say, oh, I want to be one, two, and three, and then we pick out a book and say, this book right here speaks to that.
Okay.
Now, all of a sudden, we don't have a customer. We have a kid who constantly wants his grandparents, his parents, his community members to invest in their dreams, not necessarily buy them a book, but invest in their dreams. And so our mission is to meet kids at their dreams and their reading needs.
Hence the
Amen.
name of your store.
Right, right,
I
exactly,
love
exactly.
that. I
Thank
love
you,
it.
Yeah, that's a great story.
It
thank you,
is a
thank you.
great story. It's just something that you happened upon. You weren't even trying. It was something that basically found you.
How about that? I was a trained academic, and so in my time as a stay-at-home dad, I was constantly trying to figure out how do I get back to that tenure track, school of education, job as a professor of educational philosophy. But as my grandfather told me before he passed away, he would always say, "This is a calling, son." He would say, "You're going to wind up seeing why God made you put you in this position, and you're going to be able to really make an impact in the world." And so I don't take this lightly. Like I said, I don't see myself as just a person who owns a bookstore or a bookseller or whatever they want to call it. I see myself as an educator who uses specifically picture books to inspire not just children, but their families to, in lack of better words, see books as tools to build their dreams.
And I think another sign that this was something you were meant to do is that your family supported you. You mean
Mm,
you got this money, and the first thing you said that your wife did was buy more books. She poured right back into this vision, and
right.
not everybody does that, and not
Man,
everybody has somebody who will be willing to pour back into the vision. So, was this something that she supported from the very beginning, or was she like, "You want to do what?"
no, well, no, so my wife, she's a professor of entrepreneurship, one. We met at the University of Pittsburgh, and so we were always dreaming out loud as
Oh,
graduate
wow.
students.
Okay.
So we were always like, we want to change the world. And we would turn and look at each other and realize that we were the only crazy two who really believed this. So on one hand, she held values of wanting to change the world. Now, of course, what do they say? We're one flesh. So our journey is together, but we have merged our particular purposes in this bookstore to now reach greater audiences in different ways. I give you an example. Someone asked me a couple of years ago, they said, could you do something around entrepreneurship with kids? Because we have this thing called Musa on Main Street. So all the kids are going to create a business. And at the end of the summer, we're going to have like a little, like mini lemonade stands or whatever business they create. We're going to have like little stands where they could talk about their business. And I said, of course. So my wife and I, we co-taught a what we call a parent lab. And when I say these kids had amazing ideas and their parents had amazing
Mhm.
ideas. But here goes the catch 22. We were able to find books that specifically spoke about entrepreneurship, and we were able to read those books, give these well, the organization purchased the books to give away to the kids, and at the end of the summer they were able to use those books as a guiding, like I said, a tool to actually build their fictitious business that hopefully when they get older they'll pursue it. But the goal isn't necessarily for them to pursue the vision now. The goal is for them to experience something that will inspire them to do greater things in the future. So to answer your question, she has always been a supporter, even when I was when we were graduate students together. And her investment in the store was also an investment in our purpose as a family.
You know,
That's wonderful.
I was making a couple of notes just because what you said, three things in your background parallel mine or our
Mm,
families.
yes,
Is
amen.
so one, I'll do the first one you mentioned was that you did something at PwC.
Right, right, right,
And
right.
my daughter, that was her first real job.
Oh wow, wow, that's a good real job.
Intern, she interned there, and then they hired her after the internship, after she got went to graduate school. You know, they
Wow.
guarantee you a job after they tell you you have a job after
Yeah,
you finish graduate school, get your master's.
yes,
So,
ma'am.
and it's just, accounting is a 1 year master.
Yeah.
So, and she wasn't in Pittsburgh, but she was at PwC. I don't know where you taught when you did the training there, but that's the first one. And the
Yes.
second is that my husband and I had a bookstore for 10 years
Mm,
together,
wow.
where the family, he and I both were full time.
Yes,
Uh,
yeah.
so that was the second one. And the third one is your entrepreneurship classes for kids, because my 6 children's books are
Mm,
all related to business.
wow, wow.
I have a 5 part series called Kids Biz that teaches
Mm,
children how to be entrepreneurs. In each
oh,
book, they learn a different concept or they do a different project to earn money. And then I
yeah.
have a book called Boss Women, which is
Mm,
biographies of 7 African American women who built their businesses from the ground up. It's a children's
oh,
book, though. But adults love it. So many adult women buy that book for themselves. That's something that I didn't anticipate. But
no.
so, like I said, we have had some. Now I don't. Uh, Rhonda's the doctor. I
Yes,
didn't
yes,
go to. I finished my bachelor's and I was through. But
yeah,
it's in business. I've been an
yeah.
entrepreneur my whole life. So,
Wow.
my
Yeah.
whole adult life.
Yes,
Um,
ma'am.
yeah. So it's a lot of parallels. And congratulations to you and your wife for working together
Yes, 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 yes.
to build something together.
yeah, and one of the beautiful things is that I'm like I was like I said before, I was an educational philosopher. So, I'm used to being like, let me develop this theoretical idea or this framework. And one of the things that she has always helped me do is to kind of be able to, one, make sure the framework makes sense, and then two, figure out how we can actually roll this out. So she was always the person, how do you do that? And I'm like, hey, I said it. You know what I'm saying? It can be done. Like, yeah, but we're gonna have to do that. Oh, okay. Well, let's do it then. So it's good to have what I call beyond a helpmate, but a mind mate and a soulmate. That our work is so interlocked together. When we were professors, because we were professors in South Africa for about 4 years together, and her
Guys
office
are
was
just
right
so
next to the
aligned.
right, right.
Did you
And so
grow up together too?
no, well, no, well, she's from New Orleans. I'm from Philly, and we both
Rhonda,
met
Rhonda,
what you call at the University of Pittsburgh. And we used to debate. Like I said, we used to stand in front of the library and debate. So we had some old friends come up for a ceremony from one of our professors, and people was like, man, we used to stand out there. Y'all used to always be out there talking. I'm like, yeah. And I was telling my sons, like, see, you see the library? That's where I live. Like, literally. It's like, da-da. Boy, I'm trying to tell you, this ain't no joke. You hear what he's saying? I used to live there. One time the librarian told me I need to pay rent there. I said, no, man, that's what tuition is called. So, but yeah, we were so aligned. I could tell you so many stories about that. That's a Disney movie. Or
well, it's
Spike Lee movie, I
definitely.
should say, a Spike Lee joint.
Oh,
Or Ryan
yeah.
Coogler joint.
Nowadays it's good to
Right,
be aligned,
right.
rather than at cross purposes. So,
Hey,
because
man.
that's a disastrous situation.
Mm,
And I had that too. You know,
yeah.
people who watch the show know I was briefly married the first time to
Mm,
someone who wasn't. I shouldn't have been. Let me put it like that. So,
mm,
um, when you can't really be one with somebody if you're going into opposite directions, you're not on the
mm.
same page. It's hard to become one if you're
Right,
not, if you're going like this. If you can see my fingers, y'all are going like this. You
right,
got to be like this to be
right.
one.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, what?
Amen. That's right. That's right. That is, man. Whew.
So you mentioned something in your bio information that you sold 20,000 books and
Yeah, yeah.
over the course. That's a lot of books.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we partnered with organizations like the Center for Black Educated Development. They have branches, freedom schools all across the country. We partnered with Philadelphia Freedom Schools in Philadelphia. We partnered with the University of Pittsburgh, who bought books to, as they would say, flood the Pittsburgh region with books that are high quality and culturally affirming. So we have been a part of these what we call mega partnerships, where people will buy bulk orders and sometimes the thousands. So
Mhm.
it's been a yeah, man, it's been a process because on one hand, people will come to us and say, "This is what we want," and we can order those books for them. On the other hand, we'll have organizations that, especially during the summer season, they'll say, "We want these books, but because the books are popular, they'll run out." So that's where my expertise comes into play. So we have sold over 20,000 books. But going back to my sons, I read them over 2,000 books before they entered into kindergarten. So I have not just a wide understanding of books, but I have a depth of how the books relate to each other. So on our bookstore, we categorize our books based upon what we call dream categories. So we have Love Dreamers, that's our social emotional wellness books. We have Innovative Dreamers, that's our books about STEM and entrepreneurship. We have Bold Dreamers, that's our books about Black history or biographies about Black heroines and heroes who made the world a better place. We have Learning Dreamer, that's like our board books and our concept books that help kids know the ABCs and the one, two, threes. And then we have our Creative Dreamers, which is about the creative and performing arts. So with all of those different categories and being able to organize books in that manner. If someone says, we need this book about social emotional wellness, and that book sells out, and I'm like, well, this book is like this. However, this is another book that you can replace it with. Now, the themes might be slightly different, but this is how you can connect it to your curriculum. So, yeah, that depth of knowledge as it relates to the books that not only that we sell, but the books that our partners might be interested in. Because as you see, I got a bunch of books. Some of them we sell because they're great. Some of them we hold on to because we know that that's a purchase that a school might buy, not necessarily a parent. And so again, we tend to uh, focus on the depth of our knowledge of books and how they relate to the experiences of the kids and the schools, the families, and what our partners need. So that's why we're able to sell that many books. And
I
then,
think that's something that people forget about is bulk selling.
right,
Um, we as authors, we are so busy concentrating on selling one book at a time,
right,
and going to book festivals or trying to get into bookstores. And all of those things are great, but
hmm
we forget that there are organizations who want to invest in our books as well.
right,
And that is even true for fiction books.
right, right,
It doesn't have to be a children's book or a nonfiction how-to book. It can
right.
actually be a fiction book as well, because there is a specific audience for every book. So even no matter what type of book you have, you just have to find out who your audience is, which is why it's so important to
Mhm.
know who your audience is. Take some time to really figure out who your
Mhm.
target audience is and
Right.
where your target audience is, and then market to that target audience. Find out where they are, and then look for those organizations that market to those audiences.
Right, right. And sometimes it's you having I know people say don't do it, but sometimes you're having cold conversations with people or you're at a conference. One of the things that I love about, especially when you talk about fiction, is that you're playing in their imagination, you know? And so a lot of the books that I enjoyed, like Lava in My Veins by Derek Barnes, you know, my son saw the advert on my phone, and for the entire, spring, he's like, "Did Love in My Veins? Did Bobby Beacon come out yet?" And I was like, "Well, it's called Love in My Veins, not yet." But when he was able to get it, he read a book about a young black boy who looked like him, who also was a superhero. And, well, not also. Well, yeah, my son is a superhero too, both of them. But he fell in love with the book. I mean, the boy, and he was a sixth grader, and that book is for like a second or a third grader. He kept on reading it. Why? Because Derek Barnes organized, well, not Derek Barnes, but his illustrator organized it like a what? A comic book. So as he keeps on reading it, he's like, it's almost like he's not reading the picture book, he's reading a comic book. But going back to it, knowing his audience, because I think I heard in an interview, Derek Barnes said he wrote that book because he didn't see his sons as superheroes when they were younger. So
Mhm.
now when I'm talking to parents and I'm selling that book or I'm selling it to educators, I'm like, it's about a little black boy who's a superhero, but it's really a book that you can use to talk about social emotional regulation. And he's like, really? I said, watch this part. They're like, oh, wow, gotta get it. I had one teacher buy the book and say I gotta buy another copy because the kids in my class always fight over it when it's time to read. So it's like, yes, you got to know
No
your market,
problem.
but at the same time, right, you have to understand the essence of what they want,
Yes.
because when we talk about selling books, again, I could tell you this book is great, but I need to be able to be an active listener to hear what you want. So when I remember this one guy said, I'm looking for a book, a white guy, he came up and said, I'm looking for a book for my niece. And I was like, okay, so tell me something about her. So he's talking, and my wife is listening. She's like, I got the book for her. She gives her Becoming Vanessa by Vanessa. I'm always forgetting her last name. But my wife gives him the book. He starts reading it. He said, this book about a little black girl, but this is my niece. You see? So it's the essence of what he wanted. He said she's eccentric. She's cutting edge. All of these different characteristics that he was describing. He's like, and that's in the book. So he purchased the book. So again, it's active listening, understanding the essence of what people want, not trying to sell this book that I have because I need to make this. I need to make the $20 right now, or however it
Mhm.
goes. It's like, no, I always tell people, I don't want to sell you anything that you don't want to buy, that doesn't speak to your child's dreams or the reading experience that you want to create in your home. Because when you see me, what are you going to say? Here come that snake salesman. He about to sell me some snake oil, No, I'm good. No, no, I ain't got it today. I'll see you tomorrow. So I always say, look, if you don't want to buy anything, if this ain't for you, you tell me, and I guarantee you, next time I see you, I'll have that book that you're talking about that you wanted. So yeah. And
So,
and I
so
and one thing that I also like to talk about is like, going back to that intellectual work from the PhD. So I'm a part of this thing called the Op-Ed Project, where I'm a public voices fellow, where I'm able to talk about issues around books and talk about how books can help kids build their dreams, and also talk about issues related to education. So in lack of better words, this is a this calling goes beyond, as I said before, selling books. Is educating. It's writing about how we change the world, how we inspire kids. It's talking about the issues that prevent kids from maximizing their full, what we say, dream potential.
hmm. So are you still reading as much as you were in the past? Like you said, you read like 2,000 books or whatever it is. Are you
Yeah.
still reading with at that same pace?
Well, you know that 2000 was like over like 3 years. But I do.
Okay.
Before we put any book on the table, we always read it. And so when I read it with the intent of saying, how does this book, one, speak to the dream categories? What type of kid is this book going to speak to very specifically? And then how can a parent, educated grandparent, how can they use this book? So I would say because we sell books and we are at festivals, teaching conferences, that I'm always having to update myself. So maybe not 2000. It wasn't 2001 year or 800 within that summer to spring, but I would say it's about it's a lot. That's what I would say. It's a lot. It's a lot. And sometimes I got to reread books because I'm like, hey, I remember what that book was about. Let me see. Yeah, it's about one, two, or three. So sometimes I literally have to reread stuff. But to answer your question, I'm not at that pace because my sons are 13 and 11 now.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but I still read a lot because, again, before we put a book on the table, we want to make sure that we understand how that book speaks to a child's needs or the reading experience that their families want to create.
So is your bookstore's inventory exclusively children's books?
Yes, yes. We
Oh,
always
okay.
children's books. We have we go from what we say zero to like grade five. We have a couple of graphic novels that are for middle school students. So we kind of play in that area, but not too much,
So
you know.
you
So
focusing more on the 0 to 12 in there, or
right,
maybe even 10.
right, 0 to 10.
Because
Yes, yes,
because if children are reading early, they will be lifelong readers. That's true. If you get
And
yeah,
that.
they'll stay readers if they start
Yeah,
reading early.
yeah,
I was reading for as long as I can remember, and I'm
yeah.
still reading.
you
Me
see
too.
that?
Me too. I don't even know where my mother got the books from, but we had them, and I was reading everything I could get my hands on as a little girl.
That's
So,
right.
so just some people have the bug, and then some have to be introduced. But
Right.
reading is fundamental. It's tied to everything else, whatever else you're going to major in or do for a living. The foundation is reading.
And I think that that's important because even when we look at some of our greatest heroes, they had to engage with a book. Like in Pittsburgh, August Wilson is, of course, not just a legend in Pittsburgh, but he's a legend across the world, you know?
Yes.
Uh, we sell a children's book called Feed Your Mind, and his mother had him reading at an early age. So August Wilson drops out of school, and when he drops out of school, he goes to read books at our main library in Pittsburgh. And he would just read and read and read and read. So here goes a man who dropped out of school, but doesn't mean that he wasn't learned,
Right,
doesn't mean that he
right.
wasn't an intellectual. And so one of the things that I always impress upon my sons and even the children who I read books to, I'm like, look, at the end of the day, if you want to make the world a better place, you want to pursue your dreams. Don't take my word for it. Go down, read it, a book, and beyond reading a book, be able to engage with the text so that you're just not consuming information,
You're
but
not
you
just
become
looking at the words.
right. You become creators of of a new world because that's essentially what August Wilson would do. He would hang out, read at the library, and then hang out in diners in Pittsburgh and listen to what people were saying, and hence he would create these amazing stories. And I'm thinking to myself, if August Wilson could do that, then all these little brown babies that walk up and down the streets of Pittsburgh, America, wherever, can do the same thing. And hence why, like you said, reading is so important. I always say reading is a process that help you build your dreams, And hence, when you ask me, am I still reading? I have to, I got you. How can I, if I stop reading, that means I stop learning. That means I stop creating. And that's the whole goal. So when we talk about going back to when we talk about books, it's like, yeah, I could sell if you want a book, I can sell you a book. But beyond that, the most important thing, if you only have one book, especially for kids. You only have one book or 4 or 5 books. I want that book to speak to who you can become, not
Yeah.
just a cheap alternative because I want to feel better about myself. So I give you a book. I give you a free book that I wouldn't even give to my own children. You feel me?
Yes. Yes.
Well, Dr. Griffin-El, we really appreciate you being on the show and your passion. Let the audience know where your bookstore is in Pittsburgh. So, in what area or what street or whatever for people who
Yeah.
might be.
So our bookstore is fully online. So we're www.theyoungdreamersbookstore.com. And then we are mobile. So we pop up in different places across the city. And then we have a educational residency. We're the inaugural educational residency resident, educational residents at the August Wilson African American Cultural Center in Pittsburgh. So one Saturday out of each month, we hold what we call a Read to Dream program, which is basically a program where we read a book, we do an activity, and we inspire kids to see books as tools to build their dreams. And so we do that every month. And in fact, this upcoming Saturday, we'll have a Read to Dream experience at August Wilson from 11 till 2 o'clock.
Okay, for those out there in the Pittsburgh area, take note, take your children. And thank you so much again for being a guest on the show. And congratulations on you and your wife pursuing your dreams and building young dreamers.
Oh, thank you so much. And 25 minutes goes by too fast. You need to give it a whole 2 hours next time.
Yeah. Well, we didn't know you were going to be speaking like that. We could have given you a whole hour next time.
Next time I will wear my t-shirt too. Since you all gonna tell me. But thank you so
Always
much, and
something
it's an
we
honor
can
and pleasure.
consider for the future. We
Thank
might do
you.
something. We might do some have a bookstore night and just have everybody with the bookstore. We'll think about it. You planted a seed. So
Amen.
anyway,
Amen.
all
Well,
right.
thank you
Have
so
a
much.
great night.
You do the same. Bye bye.
Bye bye.